Okay, good morning, everyone. Mark Winter, Director of Agent Development with McDonald Realty here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I've got a long list of offices of people who are tuning in and agents participating live. Thank you for that. Today, I'm going to engage in conversation with Tori Jacobsen, a managing broker in Langley, one of the youngest and smartest managing brokers in the business, also the author of our mentorship program, and an absolute pleasure to work with. Welcome, Tori.
Good morning, Mark. Hi, everybody.
Excellent. And Tori, I'm very happy for you that you didn't need to use a headset so it doesn't interfere with your hair as well this morning.
It doesn't. The hair will remain tight for the remainder of the day. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So Tori and I have collaborated together, and we're going to share thoughts on that traditional business planning topic and provide you with our top 10 recommendations to make the most of your career in 2019. Quick ground rules as always. We'll go for about half an hour or so, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to use the chat function on the bottom right to ask questions. And we're also going to invite anyone that has a particularly great snippet to share that would benefit the group on the topic we have today. So, to our objective, to reflect on some key competencies that will enable you as agents to plan out next year in an internally driven way, that's the key, as opposed to using templates. Why that? Because for most agents, templates don't work, do they, Tori?
No, they don't. So I remember giving fill in the blank business planning templates in the past, and often what would happen is if you gave it to 10 people, you would have 2 that would go start to finish and complete it. You would have another 3 that would do it halfway, and then you would have 5 that would be left sort of staring at the pages and said, I don't know where to start, or I don't have the numbers or the analytics to fill in. So it tells us that the conventional thinking around business plan just doesn't work. So we need to go back before we can go forward.
Absolutely, well said. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think the first thing is that there's a focus challenge. So a lot of agents, I'm not sure what I should be focusing on. What are the actions needed? What's the plan? What's the system? Where business coming from? So if I don't know any of that, how can I fill in the blanks? The second thing is motivation. It simply comes down to doing what needs to be done. In this business, there's not a 9-to-5 structure. There's no regular paycheck. And as we hear from new agents joining us all the time, I like the flexibility of schedule and job description. Well, the other side of that coin, of course, is that you have to remain self-motivated, and that's a challenge for even the best of us, frankly. I think a third thing is the why am I in this business? So we don't have a purpose. I asked that question to new agents during our mutual meetings when they're looking to come on board. And I asked the question, why real estate? And I can't tell you how many times I hear the size of the commission check and the flexibility of the schedule as the reason for doing it. And unfortunately, while that's a big plus, the reality of it is that's not a purpose. That's not enough that's going to get you up in the morning and motivate you to do what we need to do. Another challenge, I think, is professional development. So far too often, we're just kind of satisfied being where we are. Our license requires every 2 years that we get 18 credits. And for many of us, that's the maximum that we will invest in terms of education and development, when the reality of it is we need to continuously be seeking knowledge and growth in order to become both a better person and a better agent. The 50-50 rule, I touch on this as well. As a company, McDonald Realty will give you our 50%, which is the time and the resources. What we can't control is your 50%, which is your effort, your motivation, your determination. And we often find in terms of this conventional thinking, that 50% is where things fall off the rail. If things don't necessarily pan out, we can often identify that your 50% might have been 20 or 10%, right? And I think the last one, and this goes for people's personal lives as well as professional lives, is time management. We have major challenges dealing with distractions, and there's an inherent lack of discipline. And we don't have to look any further than our start of our day. We have the best intentions to get going, and then we meet somebody in the coffee room, or our cell phone gets that little bing notifying us as a text, and all of a sudden things are off the rails, right? So I think those are the real challenges behind why the conventional way doesn't work any longer.
Great. So thanks for sharing those 6 items there, Tori: the focus, the motivation, the purpose, the professional development piece, time management, and also the 50-50. What actually is your 50%. So for those of you listening, we'd like to really encourage you to bring a fresh perspective to how you look at planning out next year. That's not just someone else's template. So let's get on with it. Grab a pen. You should have a piece of paper to record some of these down that really resonate with you. And as a surprise, we've actually come up with 12. So promise 10, and we're going to deliver 12. So Tori, why don't you start with number 12?
Sure. So number 12 is identify your competitive edge. So what we're getting at here is you need to ask yourself, how do you compete as a realtor, and on what basis? I think in our industry, the tendency is, well, I'm going to outcompete and outmarket everybody else in the industry, and that's how I'm going to build my business. We need to ask ourselves, do we really want to play the presentation game? It would be naive to say that some in our industry have been successful based on that strategy, but I don't think that lends itself to the majority of us. So, what if we change that a little bit and we say to ourselves, what if I'm prepared to engage clients through collaboration rather than presentation? What if I'm willing to go about it a different way that sets myself apart at the service and experience level versus the flashy marketing and market share that we so typically fight for, right? The number one in everything category. So that's number 12, is identify your competitive edge.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that, Tori, that on what basis do you compete? Really think about that one. We know that sometimes the public views us as commodities, and all realtors are the same. And if our only differentiation is the price that we're telling them or the package that we're showing them, then that's pretty one-dimensional.
Absolutely.
So how different can we actually be? So great start.
Yeah.
Okay, on to number 11.
Number 11.
Yeah, I'll take this one. Stop thinking you can't do something. Accept and embrace vulnerability and turn it into a strength. Vulnerability. So how many of us feel deficient in terms of our business, our experience, our skill sets, the foundation we have? Stop thinking that you need to be a certain way. Stop feeling that you have a disadvantage or a missing piece of the puzzle. So what happens if we actually embrace those vulnerabilities and ask ourselves, what do we have inside of us? What's our own inner power that we can tap into? What's my strength that I can employ to better engage clients? We challenge you to identify those pieces and those steps forward. It is okay if somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer. You can always find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 10, and I think this is a big one because we always hear about putting it on paper. So define in words your successful 2019. So, if we were to say to you, picture yourself a year from now and looking back on what happens over 2019, what makes it a successful year? What does that look like to you? And what we're saying is define that picture, but do it in words. We know that when we put words to paper, it adds power and it lends itself to fruition. So clearly define a picture of success that's going to inspire you to move forward. Don't be vague, get as detailed as you need to be, but really say, in December of 2019, I had a successful year, and this is what that looked like. And don't just include real estate, because as we can tell you, family and personal life, that equals success as well. So really get specific on what that looks like, but have it in words. And you might be surprised a year from now what the results would be. So, for me, if I look at the Langley office, which is one of the offices I look after, an example of a successful 2019 is we have some awesome people in that office and some great momentum going. So for me, it's continuing to build on that momentum, having positive growth, having a stronger financial picture than we even had in 2018, and very excitedly, underway with a renovation for the building to freshen that up and modernize it for both our agents and the public. So, that's what success is for me. Mark, what about yourself? Connected learning.
Great question. Success for me is how we can continue to build this great culture that we have that balances coaching and mentorship. Our subject matter experts today, having our agents right across the company engaging with each other, learning from each other. That's a big piece of it. The performance elevation course, I've been privileged to give that to 18 groups now right across the company.
Yeah, that's great.
And as a result of that, I think we're on Build Your Business group number 11 or 12. We actually started a brand new one in Maple Ridge yesterday. So it's really, for me, refining value. When I look at what's in my control, it's really developing an educational system that helps our agents. It's that 50% you talked about earlier, Tori. And I've got really good clarity on what I believe that needs to look like for 2019 based on where we've been in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Tori says to you agents, grab a coffee, sit back and deeply contemplate that vision that you have and what you expect of yourself in that picture of success.
I'll just finish that off by saying, I know in the Fraser Valley here, some of our larger teams, they dedicate 2 or 3 days every year at the end of the year for business planning, and it's all on paper. They've written down what 2019 looks like for everybody. So definitely do it. Definitely do it. You bet.
Yeah, and you and I are required to do that as part of our employment, right? We have to show the owners of the company that we're accountable for what we're setting out to do as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Number 9.
Okay. Number 9 is, what is your why? So this speaks to purpose. What specifically is it that you can buy into and have others buy into as well? So I'm in real estate to make lots of money is different to I'm in real estate to make a difference in the lives of others, which in turn will help me and my family, or whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A suggestion to the agents out there watching, TED Talks. Everybody's heard about it, I'm sure. And one gentleman that's done a number of talks on there is Simon Sinek, and his whole premise behind his talks is finding your why. He has a great book that you can buy at Amazon. It's finding or Chapters Indigo, Finding Your Why, and it's actually a workbook as well. And in one of his talks, he makes a really profound statement and uses sort of Apple as the example, is that people don't buy what you do or how you do it. They buy why you do it. So if you're really clear on what your purpose and your passion is, and you can convey that in your real estate business, people will just automatically work with you and love that journey for reasons that they may not be able to understand. Too often we focus on the what I'm doing, but we never really get down to the why. So really understand your purpose, because if you're true to that, it'll shine through in your business and how you conduct yourself, for sure.
Yeah, great share, Tori. And if I can also share, if you can see this is a book that I hold close to my heart by a lady I know very well, Kathy Taberner. They have a company, her and her daughter, called the Institute of Curiosity, which is a great name. And The Power of Curiosity is the book. how to have real conversations that create collaboration, innovation, and understanding. So when Tori mentioned number 12 earlier, ask yourself how you compete on what basis. That read will answer some of those questions for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, Tori, number 8.
Number 8 is identify 2 income goals, your need and your want. So in traditional business planning, the fill in the blank, the template, tell us what you want to earn in 2019, and everybody puts down a number, and we hope 12 months later we get there. This ties into number 10, right? So we're defining in words what a successful year looks like, but we also need to have a numerical goal, because at the end of the day, we are in this business to make money. So we do need an income goal. Why we're saying put 2 is for this reason. The need number is where you are right now. It's the number you need to earn in order to maintain the lifestyle that you have. So the holidays, the breaks, the kids, the bills, all of that type of stuff. The second number is your want number. So that is what's the number above where I am that I want to attain. And why that's important is that's the number that facilitates growth. And we've already talked about how you have to constantly be growing in this business and moving forward. So push yourself a little bit. Don't just be satisfied with the need number. Say, you know what, I'd love to take my spouse or my partner, my kids on this holiday or that trip, or buy that. Have a number that allows you to do that, and then push yourself in 2019 to get there. Okay? Mark, anything to add?
Yeah, I love it, Tori. You don't often find that way of looking at it on templates, and good opportunity to show you something else, which is our Build Your Business journal that I developed with Tori and with Rosie Hudson. And we've got a very simple business objectives tracker here. And there's 2 annual income goals in there. Your required annual income to meet your basic needs, and then your desired annual income goal. So just what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. These journals are what we provide for people in the Build Your Business groups. So if that's something that intrigues you, again, in Maple Ridge yesterday, the agents there were happy to receive these and start using them and planning out their activities too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're doing quite well. I think we've been through quite a few already. Number 7, passion and positivity. So let's talk about the market. What does it take for us to embrace the concept of market irrelevancy? In other words, to be able to detach ourselves from whether it's a good, bad, or indifferent market, and instead show up with a nice, positive outlook and mindset, and focus in, here's the key, focus in on what's in our control. Because we can talk about negativity in markets, it doesn't actually help us. So what's in our control? How passionate are you about what you do? When we're passionate, amazing things happen, and people always have need. I mean, in our business, we've got birth, we've got death, we've got partnership, marriage, we've got divorce, we've got investment. There's lots of need constantly in the market. If we focus purely on the market, that's a bit like focusing purely on price in a price reduction conversation, instead of focusing on the lifestyle impact of not taking action on price. What do you think, Tori?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, the message there is focusing on what you can do and what you can control versus what you can't, right? So we all know the market is different than it has been the last 3 years. But we also know that there are people that are buying and selling. It's not that the real estate market has shut down completely and we're all unemployed at the moment, right? So things are still happening. So all you can do is control your actions and what you get out of it. And you need to look for a silver lining, some positivity in that. In the foundations course that I do during the Activate Bootcamp, the first subject is on attitude, because that's the first layer to success in this business. And you have to maintain a positive attitude and look at everything in that light in order to really not get eaten up by this business, and also to succeed. So maintain that positivity and always love what you're doing, and that'll just push you forward. Yeah.
Well said. Okay, so we are about 20 minutes in. We've done half of our 12, so we're going to pick up the pace a bit here.
We'll go through. So number six is, are you the best agent that you can be? So what we're talking about here is developmental plan. So are you engaging outside resources such as the board, company resources, events, books, online? What does it look like as 2019 approaches? I mean, I make a goal for myself to read a new book every week. I do as many webinars and things as I possibly can, because I just understand that the more I grow and the more knowledge I become, a better person, and by default I become a better manager for my agents, because they look to me for that guidance. So I need to make sure that I'm always developing myself. So are you really becoming the best agent that you can be?
Yeah, Tori, we talked about this earlier when you and I chatted, that we have a shared belief that not enough agents get even close to their potential.
Absolutely.
So ask yourself, what is your potential? What is it you want to fulfill in 2019? Okay, to number 5, devoting time for each part of your life. The structure for work, family, learning. And I want to acknowledge again Simon Hudson, who was on here last time. And I read it again because I found it very impactful. Simon shared with us in that last session his beliefs about balance. And the big start of it was, there is no such thing as balance. In fact, to be successful, you need to be 100% out of balance all of the time. You have to be 100% present when at work and out of balance, and 100% present when at home. All you have to do is decide how much time at work and how much time at home, then be 100% there. And I wanted to share that again, and thank you, Simon, again for that. Because straight after that last session, one of our very experienced and very successful Vancouver agents came straight to me and said, that really, really resonated with me. And here's why. He said, between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m., it's all time with his family, with his kids, lots of activities, that kind of thing. So that's kind of off limits the business. So his takeaway was, it really hammered home to me how important it is what I'm doing between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Interesting, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Number 4, have you identified patterns that lead to success? So in school, one of my favorite subjects was history, and we always hear, history teaches us lessons that we should take heed to in terms of learning for now and for the future. So I think the same thing goes in this business. Success leaves clues. So conventional business planning says, we need to know exactly where our business came from, what are our percentages, what are our numbers, and that'll help us predict the future. Well, sometimes we don't have access to that information, but what we do have access to is the results of the things that we did in the past. So reflect back on what you did, whether it's in real estate or something else. What made you successful? And then what lessons from that can you learn? Do a quick analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis of your own business. Where can you improve? What things are you doing well? And then I think the other one, and this is really important, and why SME is so great, and the mentorship program and things, we have amazing people in this company in every one of our offices that do an outstanding volume and level of business. Do yourself a favor and observe them, take them for coffee and find out what it is that they're doing and see what you can implement from them in their business. So, our subject matter experts sharing their knowledge in these sessions every month, that's part of this. So take something away from every session that you do and learn from that, and that will help move you forward. So identify those patterns that lead to success, adopt them, and away you go.
Lovely. Okay, so we're to our top 3 now. And I'm going to attempt a screen share here on this one. So there we go. Okay, so number 3 is, can you define your system? This one's actually straight out of my performance elevation course, if it looks familiar to a few of you. Take a look at this system we've designed as an easy way to take a bird's eye view of your own system. When Tori and I were chatting, we shared a belief that you just can't look outside and implement someone else's system, at least not 99% of us. But what we do believe is in looking from the inside out and designing your own. So to start you off in a nice, simple way, draw out 5 rings and populate them with your own contacts, groups, influencers, and target markets. So as you can see, you're in the middle there. You've got your immediate circle around you, professional groups outside of that, social life and activities. All of those 3 rings outside of the me, a sphere of influence. These are, again, as Simon defined for us, these are prospecting. Where the lead generation is in the outside. These are the people that we're reaching out to that we don't know. So take some time over the next few weeks to reflect on where you are strong and where you might be missing opportunity. Does your business contemplate greater richness in terms of touch points with just a sphere of influence? Or are there elements of lead generation from people you don't yet know? And one thing I wanted to share, Glenn Jessup in Vancouver office shared a great point with me to reverse engineer touch points. So as he said, pick a person in your database and ask yourself, how are they currently hearing from me? And how can I build on those touches with value? As important, what would I want that to look like if I were on the receiving end? So, walking the walk, talking the talk, this is what it's all about. As I look at my system, and Tori, maybe you can speak to yours, but I look at my system are really the agents in McDonald Realty. So my goal is to help you develop your business through what I can provide and what I can facilitate. And that's my system, and I've got it quite nicely worked out to this point, and it's continuing to grow. So I'll stop the share on that now. Return to Tori. Any other thoughts to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a manager, it's similar to yourself in terms of the agent's growth and support. But if we isolate, for example, on the mentorship program, when I designed that, I actually designed it from the receiver end using my own circumstances in that I wish I had more guidance and support. And I said, what is it that a new agent to the business would want and would need, and how can we create something that allows the top agents in our company who are mentors to shine through on that, and at the end of 6 months leave that new agent feeling so much more than what their colleagues in other firms may be, right? So it took the perspective of the experience of the receiver and built out from there, for sure. Yeah.
So number 3 there was, can you define your system? So we challenge you to find your own system there. Okay, we're almost at 30 minutes. I just want to again mention, so if you've got questions for Tori or myself or both of us, please start to pass this forward, get those uploaded into the chat function there. While we're waiting for that, Tori, number 2.
Number 2, the often heard, great, I have a system, now what do I do with it? So this is behavioral management. So we talked about time management and how we have to structure that, and we've talked about personal growth, but this is all down to defining and executing your action steps. So I know what my schedule looks like, but now what are the components of it? How do I spend my time achieving my purpose and my goals? What are the steps that are clear in moving me forward to that defined success? And then I break those down into my monthly, my weekly, and my daily steps. So the problem we often have is, here's my yearly financial target, here's my yearly goal in terms of transactions, and that's where it stops. The reality of it is, if you talk to the top producers in our company, all of them can tell you exactly what they need to do every day in order to get that number 12 months from now. That's what you need to do. That's how you put your system into action. The other thing that's really important very quickly is that these action steps need to be yours, and they can't be a template or somebody else's. And the reason why is you take ownership of your actions. You don't take ownership of someone else's. And the analogy I always use is think of the rental car. You will happily do things to a Hertz rental car that you would never do to your own car. It's the same thing with your systems. When you own it, you're more inclined to do it and do it properly.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. I mean, isn't this one of the challenges, how to use your time? And I think listing out the most important actions that you need to take to actually drive your business in terms of client acquisition and retention is key. And then planning time to actually execute on that as well. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to have a system, obviously developing the databases. We've had a lot of expertise shared on databases. But what are your action steps ahead that you need to take? Which leads us to our number one. Are you engaged and accountable? If so, how? And I look at engagement as being like a car being in gear. How does that show up? There's that expression again, walk the walk, talk the talk. Are you walking your talk? Are you living what you set out to actually do? So for example, one of your goals is to be very, very knowledgeable, to be an expert interpreter of market knowledge. Well, how are you building and maintaining that knowledge?
Yeah. And we talked earlier, right, about the growth, and I think engagement is part of that, just being a professional and in this business for a career. So I challenge all of you, pick something out of our connected learning program for 2019. Are you going to engage by taking Mark's performance elevation? Are you going to regularly attend the office meetings and the subject matter experts? Things like that, the institute learning that we have, but really engage yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to do things differently because what I have been doing just isn't getting me the results. Yeah, absolutely. So Tori, what about the other piece? Are you accountable? Yeah, the accountability part, you have, I think it's twofold. I think it's to who and to what. So in our foundations course, we talk about having accountability partners. So, your manager, your spouse, a coach, etc. But it's also being accountable to yourself, right? So if you're in this business for the right reason, you're almost inherently going to be accountable and engaged just by default. So, we talked about outline what you're going to be present at in 2019, sales meetings, courses, and who's going to be having the accountability conversations with you. Who's going to make sure that your motives and actions are aligning? So you tell somebody, here's my goals, here's how I'm going to do it. You've got to be accountable to them that you're actually doing what you said that you're going to do. I think you owe it to yourself as a professional to be invested in and engaged. This business is incredible. There's so much that we can get out of it. But we talked about it earlier. It's the truest form of employment that you're ever going to find, because this business is absolutely 100% of what you put in is 100% of what you get out. So we're not here to necessarily judge where you're at. You know your own business. You look at it. Where you are now is likely reflective of what you're putting in. That's what's so great about this business. The good news is you can fix it if you're having a challenge, right? So I think it's really important. Be accountable. Have an accountability partner that's going to care about you enough to hold you to it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned my course there. And I just wanted to share that what we do on that course is we coach each other. And yesterday, for example, big shout out to the Maple Ridge Coquitlam agents, the 9 of you that are starting a fresh Build Your Business group and using their journals and having that accountability to each other and that comfort zone as well, where you know that there are people that can help you with your business. So accountability to what and to who is essential to define. And we really encourage that as our number one tip when it comes to this topic.
Mm-hmm.
So Tori, 10:35. So we did that in 35 minutes. That's not too bad. We're going to give agents a couple of minutes now to upload any questions or tips that they feel they would love to share that would benefit the group listening. So we'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that. And while you're formulating any questions, Tori mentioned Activate. That's a 4-day boot camp, and the middle 2 days are given by Tori. They're excellent. We get rave reviews on that course, and there is still a couple of spaces in that, and that's December the 11th to the 14th here in Vancouver. If you need a recharge or just engage again in the business, we're happy to see you there. You can contact Alyssa Mori if you'd like to do that. You know what, Tori? I'm not sure we're going to get questions here.
It's profound. There's nothing left.
Yeah. So I'll give it another 30 seconds, and if we don't have questions, we can finish it off. But isn't it interesting? You know, we ask our agents to look at the business differently. We as a company look at the business differently.
Yeah.
Like no other company has the kind of stuff that we have, what we're developing as a team. And I include our agents in that team. It's not me, it's not you, it's all of us together. Mm-hmm. And if we can help each other better refine how to plan out a business, then I think that's awesome. Okay, questions coming in. So from West Vancouver, good morning, West Vancouver. And by the way, quick shout out, we got Parksville and we've got Kelowna on freshly today. So great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. And we're glad to have you aboard. Okay, so West Vancouver, for a newer agent, where should we spend the majority of our time? Great question. Tori.
Yeah, so the challenge is always, well, I don't have clients, I don't have anybody to work with, and the reality of it is that I don't think any of us are strangers in this world, and we're alone by ourselves, right? So what we need to do is we need to see that the people that we do know, so our sphere of influence, as Mark talked about, our family and our friends, we need to start picturing them as potential clients, and we need to begin the dialogue and the engagement with them with the understanding that I'm not saying they're going to give you business. In fact, my own example when I was selling is my family, it took 3 years before the first family member did business with me because I had to prove myself to them. But here's what I am telling you is that every one of you know a whole group of other people. The same thing applies to your friends and your family. So by engaging them and treating them as clients and making them part of your team, and that's important to treat your clients as teammates, what we're looking for is doors of opportunity that open up to other avenues of business. And then I think it's really important as a new agent, be engaged in the office. We have beautiful offices with lots of open areas. Come into the office. Get to know the agents that are there. The more that you get to know them and the more that they get to know you, you would be surprised by the business opportunities. I can't tell you how when I started, and a shout out to Chris Whitehead in our Delta office, I was in the office all the time, and Chris and his team were located near me. I got open houses and got to work with his team members, Steve Koresh and others, because they were so busy. But I was there because Chris and I got to build a relationship, and that helped me get things rolling in my business. So the same thing with you. Do open houses, be engaged in the office, do what you need to do. Reza in our Langley office, shout out to him. He takes open houses like a fiend. Every time there's a page for an open house, he's all over it. That's exactly what you've got to do, and his business attests to that. So get active, start doing things, and understand what you do today pays dividends tomorrow.
Very well said, Tori.
Yeah, feel free, Mark, to add. I don't know if you've got something else.
Yeah, I would, first of all, be around. Go to the office every day. I see a huge correlation between that and success, particularly
Totally.
for the new agents. The ones that leave the business are typically the ones that fail to engage. Tori talked about his own experience with Chris Whitehead, a great agent. For me, all my business in my first year when I used to sell real estate came from open houses. So how do you get open? It's by being around. Um, Four things I would recommend in each workday. One is a commitment to building market knowledge. So every day doing
Yeah.
something to build market knowledge, going out to see a new development, looking online, looking at open houses. Number two, developing a skill. So what skills are there that you need to develop and spend some time of each day? You know, Tori, you mentioned you try and read a new book every week. There's a good example right there.
Yeah.
Third thing that Tori touched on is networking. Who is it that you're meeting face to face with? You need to aim to have a lot of face to face meetings. Simon Hudson shared last time his strategy is to get that one appointment for each day. But who are you actually meeting for a conversation? And the fourth one would be preparation. We forget that one. Preparing for tomorrow, for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Really good agents know what they're doing way out. And this goes back to a sales rally we had years ago, and Brian Burke, ex-GM of the Canucks, was our speaker. And I got the sense, talking with Brian before the event, that he wasn't really, that into it. And I was actually worried. I was the MC of the event, and when Brian showed up, I could see him at the back of the room with the old red tie on and the dark suit, and he had a binder with him. So I thought, well, I'll go and check in with him, see what he's going to be talking with us about, and talk about preparation. He opened his binder. It was meticulous. And he said to me, I'm always prepared 6 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a funny one. DJ Mark, wondering where you get those huge headphones. Love it.
You have a deal with Beats England, right? Yeah.
Did you have to share that? Yeah. David Wong, actually. Yeah. So we'll leave that one there, shall we? Now, I wear these because it's easy to make sure that I can hear what's going on. From Kerrisdale, how do I find an accountability partner? Tori.
Great. That is literally as easy as having a conversation, getting to know people. So look around that room with you right now, and you have a group of like-minded people, and find one that you may have a bit of a relationship with already, and after this is over, maybe head out for an early lunch and have a conversation, and be open and honest. Here's where I am, and here's where I need to go in 2019, and do you care about me enough to hold me accountable? And I, in turn, care about you enough to hold you accountable. I think one of the great things about the relationship that Drew McLean, my other manager colleague here in the Fraser Valley, and I have, is that we each know what we need to do, but we check in with each other, and we're accountable all the time, right? So, but we care about the success of each other and our offices as a whole. So the same thing for you. Just, it's networking and talking. It's not a higher education type of position. It's just a matter of caring enough to hold somebody to what they've said they're wanting to do.
Yeah, and to add to that, Tori, I would say look at the behavioral aspect. So you know who you are, and you know hopefully what structure you would like to be looking at for 2019. Who can you identify that seems to in some way mirror how you work? Like someone else who's maybe coming in as much as you are, or going out on tour as much as you are, or coming to the programs we have, and approach that person, because it's a bit like an agent saying, I want to partner with somebody. I'm looking for a team member. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a similar kind of conversation. It's a great fit. And accountability can be utterly amazing when you see it in action.
Totally.
Okay, from Maple Ridge, how has our recent social media efforts affected our ability to attract new agents and business for our existing agents? Interesting question. Tori?
total aside, Rosie Hudson is she's amazing. The stuff that she does and her team do, and Alyssa complimenting as well. They're fantastic. Our social media efforts in terms of attraction has actually been incredibly positive, even beyond our expectations. The number of inquiries from new agents is amazing. We have even sent out stuff now with our brand refresh, and we have had a large amount, I would say, of existing agents, some very well established in other brokerages, that are reaching out to us and want to find out more. So it's been really, really positive. But a little aside, as you know, looking after attraction for the company, the honest thing is that it's all of you that are watching this that are really the most profound type of media and exposure that we have. It's all of you putting signs on the lawn. It's all of you maintaining a level of professionalism and service that's above what many of your colleagues are doing. And it's the network. You're the ones that are helping us. I can't tell you how many people I talk to in when I'm having meetings in various offices that the conversation starts with the word on the street, or I heard, or I did some research, and I see your agents and I know this person or that person. You guys are amazing. So congrats to all of you, and thank you, frankly, for your help. But in terms of our marketing, it's been really positive, and we have exciting plans for 2019 as well.
Yeah, very well said, Tori. And I also would like to recognize Rosie and her department. They do incredible work.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at the breadth and scale of things they've had to handle with the rebrand as well. It's quite remarkable. So lots of good stuff happening. I keep stressing the fact we're all a team. We're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Tori and I, as managers in the business, we love to help you. And that goes for all of our managers. Our staff are amazing. So yeah, to wrap things up here from McDonald Kelowna. Great presentation, Mark and Tori. Enjoyed and benefited from our time invested in participating. So I would like to thank everybody who has participated today. As Tori said, you're showing leadership for your own businesses. That's a big commitment you're making. We thank you for that. We will be delivering more of these next year as well. I would like to thank Tori. Tori, you and I always work very closely together. You're always an absolute joy and a fountain of wisdom.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I love it, and I love being a part of the family, for sure. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll leave you with that. Thanks again for watching, and we now ask and recommend that you engage as a group and really discuss what you've taken out of today. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Bye.